Oh,
For some reason I thought you were going to be gone.
are we ready? We'll go ahead and call the meeting in order. We'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a quick reminder, this is a special meeting, so we can only discuss what's on the agenda tonight, nothing else. With that,
So, yeah, I mean, you have your agenda there. There are a couple of items included in tonight's packet. It's budget-related, budget and finance-related tonight, as we've entered our budget season. You've got a budget guide for cities. There's some other financial numbers there related to some special assistance for large cities. That's potential revenue. It's not guaranteed because it's tied to the sales of automobile products and things like that. But then the big highlight for tonight would be Mr. Rubani's presentation. He's going to be presenting regarding our financial plan, kind of how we put together things for the next couple of years, as we have in the past. And then he's going to make some recommendations regarding our negotiated competitive sale for water revenue bonds this fall. And then the city engineer has a few things there as well for a grant agreement related to our 16th Street reconstruction or construction this fall. So I think with that, we could have Mr. Rubani take it away.
yes, it's all yours, Mike.
Great, thank you. So first of all, thank you for your flexibility in calling for tonight's meeting. A week ago, I was at a wedding for my son, and that all went well. And as I sit here, if you think I have pink eye, I don't. I got poked in the eye going, and so that's what's going on. All right, so I think everyone on council has seen this model before.
Brian's the only new one here.
Okay, you're new, okay. So basically, we've got this spreadsheet that we plug in a bunch of projects using cash, using bonds, whatever it might be, and then subsequent to this spreadsheet is a bunch of graphs that show what happens to tax rates and things based on what we plugged in. And the meat of the model is down below in these columns. Each one of these columns is a project. And so we plug in the price of the project, we plug in the year. If that year is 3 years out, the model will automatically bump in some inflationary numbers to the cost. Are we using cash? Are we financing? If we are using cash, what fund is it coming from? Sewer, water, whatever it might be. And if there is any financing involved, what revenue stream down here at the bottom are we using to make the bond payments? Taxes, sewer, water, so forth. That's about as quick as I can do that. Okay. And then up above here is a bunch of, we can customize things, assumptions, for instance, how much is the tax base going to grow, what's the operating cost going to be going up, because in the background, which you don't see graphs on, is the operating costs of your general government, your sewer, your water, all that. So all that kind of stuff goes here. You see right here we've got utility rate increases. So what I've got plugged in right now is 1.5% every year for water, 2.5% for sewer, and 0.5% for storm. We can change those on the fly if you want. Now, I've added this. I did have a preliminary meeting with staff to kind of go over this, but I did add something to this. And that is over here, I plugged in your preliminary levy. It was good enough to send me a link to your budget online, and so I could see that the prelim is a 9.99, it's about 10% increase. One of the things I noted in that was a debt levy for the 2025 bond, which we have yet to issue. I think that's what I'm talking about tonight. And I think that's probably based on a number I had shot Tim early on when I thought we would be doing some sort of a street-related bond. But what you're going to see as we go forward is I'm going to be advising to not do a street bond, use all your cash for streets, and instead do a utility bond for the water tower only, and lean on water revenues. In which case, that $125,000 levy may not be necessary if you're going to have the water fund support that. And just to give you an idea, if I zero that out quickly, and you drop your levy increase to 7.2%. Okay. But let's leave it in there for now, because you might decide you want to keep it in there for some other purpose. Or if you decided you didn't want to lean on water funds as much as what I'm showing, you could always do it as a transfer to the water fund and support the water fund that way, either way. Okay. Most of the projects that we have built in are very similar to what we had before. We've made some changes. First of all, this is kind of a new one. This is the extension to the something crossings. What is that?
Casson Crossing.
Casson Crossing. Why would I not remember that? But
Well, it's not like Meadow Prairie or Prairie Meadow or anything like that, so it's literally...
Literally Casson, right? So, but that's basically being cashed out, whether it be via grants or otherwise. Let's see what I got there for note. Oh, and possible land sale proceeds as well. So that has yet to be flushed out, but we just accounted for it as being a cash project, so there will be no impact on tax rate. These two projects, the Masson Creek flood control and the Southwest Casson reconstruct, have been sort of a combo project for a while. And, you know, you would have secured $5 million in state appropriation towards those projects. We're applying that fully to the Southwest Casson reconstruction project this year. So next year's creek control will be fully financed, no state money. Okay. And then down below on that one, I have that being financed 100% by stormwater funds. I'm throwing $1 million cash from the storm fund at it. We don't necessarily have to do that. We don't have to make that decision tonight. We can take it in or out. We can play with it. That's something I just did myself today. So I was playing around. We have a wastewater treatment plant project. This is a large one, and this is why we kind of want to keep up on the sewer rate increases each year, even if it looked like in a vacuum we don't need the rate increases. But knowing that that's down the line, we've got to keep up on it. The idea is we bring a significant amount of cash, see $5 million there. So this $6 million becomes becomes like $10 million 2035. So then we buy down that $10 million down to $5 million with that cash. And then
Is that the pond expansion, or which expansion is that, Brandon?
It'd be it'd be the oxidation ditch and the solids handling.
Okay.
That might be before 35, but I gotta talk to Charlie, and Charlie will, I gotta talk to him a little bit before we start hauling that in, but.
That one was such a large project, we kind of split the revenues to make the debt payment between taxes and sewer. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the projects well, wait, before I do, get out here. So then, a couple of years from now, we got Masson Creek Trunk Sewer Line Project, that's $4 million, that's all financed, and that is being paid for with sewer revenues. And then there's a Highway 57 project in 27, but we expect that to be, what's LPP? Is that local road improvement?
Yep.
Local partnership program.
Okay.
So similar
Basically, MnDOT
state
money
grant.
coming in.
Got it.
To be working on your state highway.
And then we have some cash here as well in the city.
Use those around,
Okay.
buy the third lane so they can
Yep.
develop some
Oh,
things there.
yeah, I remember that now, thank you.
So if you were to add up all the costs of the projects that are identified for 2025, the Southwest Reconstruct, the Water Tower Project, 16th Street, and the variety of 2025 street utility improvements, those would all add up to like $12 million. But between all the grants or state aids and the cash that I've identified, or I've identified, what that leaves is $3,180,000 to be financed. And if I go down here, you'll see that's basically right here. It's the water tower. See that $3,180,000? So when we get to the recommendations on finance, my recommendation is what are we going to finance? It's just the water tower. Now, why would I want to do that? The reason I want to do that is because even though Casson is a very good credit in terms of borrowing money, when a project is purely utility-based, you can bolster your credit with credit enhancement through the state of Minnesota. You can make a $500 fee is all it is, and you'll be a double A something Casson with a AAA state rating behind it. And so for $500 extra, you're probably gonna save 5 to 10 basis points on $3.18 million over 20 years. It adds up. And so, that's kind of why I wanted to finance just utility projects. Now, having said that, down here for all these street projects and so forth, notice I've identified a significant amount of water cash to be applied to street utility projects as opposed to the water tower. So I'm financing the full water tower and I'm adjusting water cash over. Now, you have a stabilization fund. This is a fund that the city has, it's kind of like off book, where every year they'll funnel some money in there for projects.
Rainy day.
Yep, rainy day. That's got a significant amount of money in it too, so if you decided you didn't want to lean on this much water, we can lean more on stabilization funds too, but, and we can play with that if you want. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. I'm gonna move on to the graphs unless anybody has any questions so far.
Can you scroll all the way over to the side there and just show them kind of how it finishes out? And you've got a couple of placeholders with no numbers in there.
Right.
And the two that you have blocked out, the street projects in the middle there, you just got on there, projects are on hold, or what does it say there?
Yep, on hold. Okay.
So the next big street project that we do have on our schedule is that First and Second Northwest reconstruction, or First and Second Avenue Northwest reconstruction. And I think that we are looking at a certain timeline for that. It's probably going to be 27 or 28, but it's a matter of, we don't know exactly which year it's going to be yet. My goal is to try and line up that project with the termination of the pool bond. So the pool bond is going to be coming off, and if we can take the debt levy that's going into the pool bond right now, and we can reassign that general debt levy into that street project, then that'll mean that we don't have to see as big of an increase in the actual levy in that year. So, anyway,
When was the pool bond? What year was that?
28's its last payment.
So the last levy is probably in 2027. It's this one, isn't it?
Yep, that's it.
Yep. All right, now, do we want to plug in that $6 million? Do we want to play with it?
It's up to council. I mean, it is a project that we have on our list, so I think it probably would make sense to do that. I don't know, Brandon.
Let's
what do you
do it.
think?
Can we add it at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be significant,
I'll just add the engineering side of it, we deferred all sewer, we did that sewer maintenance project, we just ignored that area because we were planning on reconstructing it in a short amount of time, same thing with pavement management, so if we're gonna go a different schedule, we gotta have probably a secondary conversation of what we do from there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we still want to have it on that 5-year plan, but yeah. But we can, why don't we add it at the end? That sounds good.
Yeah.
Kind of go with what we have now, and then we'll tinker with it a little bit.
That'll definitely be a spike. Okay, so as I have it plugged in, we can change these things. Here's your tax rate page, and so you know, the yellow portion of your tax rate is associated with current debt. The green is non-debt spending, and then the little red bit over there on the far end, that's new levy with new debt. And so that's not until 2000, that has to do with your treatment plant, I believe. But notice, the idea is kind of keep the tax rate somewhat flattish. You'll see this big drop here from 22 to 23. That had to do with valuation increases across.
Prudent management.
That too. But most cities saw a big drop in 23 just because everybody's houses
Pop
were
that
more valuable than what they were being taxed at. It was the big reason. Okay, so here's the water bill. It's a 2-graph thing. Here's our monthly bill. You made a sizable increase here in 25, and then remember, I think I had put it at 1.5 there per year. So you see slight increases going in the future. This is the bill on a 5,000 gallon user. And then tracking cash reserves in here. So at the end of 2024, you had 1.9 million, and then I used a bunch of that cash to help pay for some of those 25 projects. And you can see how that it's pretty stable in projected reserves with those annual increases. Here's sewer, with the 2.5% per year increases, and you see the cash continues to build. And someone who doesn't know better would say, my God, why are you raising my sewer rates? Cash going up, and it's because of that big $10 million problem we have coming down the road. Because then you can see we drop it way down. storm. Right here, you see a drop, that's that $1 million I threw at the Masson Creek flood control. You know, you don't necessarily need to use it. I think I have half of 1% increase in rates. Maybe you get away with no increases, but I always...
Our rates have been a lot smaller than that, so it's probably more like point one or something
Yeah.
like that.
I think
We've only been
so.
raising it like 25 cents a year, but the principle's the same.
But the point being is, it's always nice to add just a little bit every year. Sometimes you're gonna need it.
Yeah, other than the stormwater bill is significantly more than what other towns charge it, single family though.
Yep.
They're like $15 a month,
Yep. Yeah, I think my hometown Spring Valley is
right, 5.
5 or 6.
Most towns are 5.
Yeah, yeah. Debt per capita, so this is, I take your total debt divided by your population, and the green is your current, so as we issue debt, it goes up, and then we pay it off, then we issue more debt, and so forth. And you see that we've done a pretty nice job staying in the moderate category of debt. We always try to stay under $5,000 debt per capita if possible. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but anyways, when you see this, you know, a credit rating agency would say that this is good management. You're tracking stuff and replacing it as you go. This is the rainy day fund. So at the end of '24, you had over $2 million in it, and then because of those projects on the front, have you using some cash. And I only have you depositing on average, because you guys don't have a set number that goes into that fund every year. I'm accounting for 10 grand a year, and sometimes you guys are doing a couple, $200,000, $300,000. It's different. I guess it's based on budgeted capital outlay that doesn't get spent.
Budgeted capital outlay was one component, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm being a little, I think, probably conservative in what will be there. And then finally, we took a typical home. So in 2016, this home was valued at $150,000. And we had it going up 5% a year, except for in between 20 and 23, we had it going up quite a bit more. So if I was to tell you how much that is being taxed at in '26, $290,000 is our typical home for this purposes of this graph.
Basically, it's doubled.
Yeah. And,
That's low.
yeah. And then, we're using 5,000 gallons of water. So we take, how much are they paying in taxes, how much are they paying in sewer bills, how much in water bills for the entire year? And if that number went up by 3% a year, it would track with this line. And if that number went up 4%, it would track with this line. So the overall cost for a house has been going up, let's call it 3.5% a year, and projected in the future. But this, and you see how this is kind of a nice steady straight line climb, that's nice. You don't have a spike, you know what I mean? When I get to that $6 million, you know, we might have a spike. So, it's very... Okay, so that's that in a nutshell. Comments, questions, changes?
Yeah, how difficult would it be to try and keep the enterprise funds, like completely separate from the general fund? So you mentioned, like, moving water fund money to the general and then taking a larger bond, like, what if we just didn't do that?
You don't have to, I'm not showing that now.
I thought you said you took water fund cash and moved it to general and then...
Oh, I see what you mean, Yeah, all I did was, I took a bunch of water cash and applied it to the street utility project, probably more than what that water actually is. But if we wanted to, we could probably, cut this in half. Well, I'm not trying to take the whole thing, put it all in stabilization if we wanted to. Stabilization is a tax-supported fund versus enterprise fund.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I was to do that, 1,432,600, and zero this out, first I'll go to the water fund, and see you have all that cash. And then Okay, almost zero, so we still have to lean on some cash probably from other sources, but that would be your option.
Okay, I'd like to see the funds kind of like operate on their own, as if they were completely disconnected, right? Obviously, that's difficult sometimes.
They are disconnected in the sense that, well, no, I guess it would be. I'm thinking more in terms of annual operating versus the capital. So, you know, one could argue that your street utility projects coming up have a water component to them. And so using some water cash makes sense. And you can, and when you say, okay, well, how much of it is water? Well, you could be real conservative in your review of water, saying, well, it's the price of the line. Or you could say it's the cost of tearing up the road to replace the line to put the road back on. That could all be called water.
Okay, no, I can agree with that. I think we did something like that for the 57 project, right? We took some water and sewer and storm funds to help.
Sure, yeah, usually
Some of
they
that.
contribute a certain percentage of the total project cost.
Yeah, so if we want to have the engineer come up with some numbers for those projects so that we're not completely depleting all of the funds, but I would like to see us not be doing inter-fund exchanges if we can avoid it.
What if we were to do this? Split the difference.
Well, can you educate me on why you think that's a better option, just so I understand?
Well, because the intent is that the water fund is meant to kind of operate almost as if it was a private entity. So I don't want us to get into a situation where something goes wrong and we've already leveraged the general levy to assist the water fund, right? So something happens and then suddenly, well, now what are we going to do? Because we're already using general levy funds, we're going to have to raise the general levy again, or we're going to have to jack up the water rate. So I would rather just plan as best as we can to try and keep them isolated. And then, obviously, financially, when we're looking at statements, it confuses the heck out of me when I see things going back and forth, right? It always raises a flag, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that, right? Why are we sending stuff to water, and why is water sending stuff to us? Obviously, people who are accountants and work with it every day probably don't care, but for us reviewing it, I think, as council members, to me, it's confusing, and I'd rather keep them separate.
Well, for the sake of discussion tonight, why don't we just, split the difference and say water's paying for this much, and then we'll just take the balance out of stabilization, whatever the ratio ends up being. But my overlying point, I hope I can get you to agree with, is that I think it's in your interest to just finance a utility project. So we have to use cash to get rid of the street stuff, and then that way we can get that credit enhancement to do better on our debt.
I have no concern with that.
Okay, all right, well, that won't change any of the graphs, so let me take this.
Yeah, don't worry about the trail, because that'll probably be a cash and grant project anyway.
It'll probably be cash neutral for us.
Which we have, the question Sarah was gonna ask you, I don't know if she did. Okay. Sneaky.
Okay. 6 million, first of all, what year, 27?
28.
Let's go with 28, that sounds good.
28.
And rates will be lower than that by then, for sure.
Okay, so, I have that, you know, Brandon, you can kind of help me here. I got 43% taxes, 5% water, 25% sewer, 15 storm, 12, I don't know where we got those numbers from. That was so long ago.
And that is probably right, storm.
I mean, are we ballpark? I mean, that's all.
Your sewer and water's gotta be closer together.
Which one?
Maybe make that 15 and 15, try that. Your
Sewer and water.
25, Yeah, 15 and 15, and then below 15.
15 for water,
Yeah, try that.
and I have 12% for assessments.
Probably what we're netting.
Maybe a little bit higher than that, might be 15, but that's probably about.
Assessing ourselves and other things too, so we won't have that much.
Okay.
It's a small percentage.
So if this was a 20-year financing, 4%, that's our payment $511,000, and we break that $511,000 based on those percentages. No, I guess it's not as big of a spike, as what I thought.
Well, that debt's coming off, that general debt's coming off of the pool, so that should help part of it.
Speaking of the one coming off the pool, wasn't there concerns about needing to do significant upgrades at the pool?
Yeah, it may need some significant upgrades, but it's possible.
Okay.
I hope not.
It's not on the agenda.
The water fund will have to pay attention to because of that additional payment. We'll bleed some cash, I think you can afford to bleed some cash, and then maybe your growth.
That's one thing we didn't look at, was your growth projections either.
I did up it last time I was here,
Sure.
against my will.
Yeah, but you stay so low, Mike, no
I feel like our
offense.
growth
Yeah.
is
Are we-
pretty steady.
23 homes a year is what we got in there.
We got 27 right now this year,
29, I think.
29.
I know.
And we're expecting the trailer park to come in, right?
Out of the trailer park and the mobile.
Another apartment complex.
Well, so that is a good point. So I would say, if there's a way to project out a little higher for the next 3 years, I would do that, because we have 80 single-family lots, we've got 85 mobile homes, or
All metered.
modular, all metered, there'll be separate customers. We've got 105 row townhomes plus 12 single-family in that
Yeah.
development. Those are rental, but they'll be customers, so I think we'll probably see a little bit. Now, I appreciate your conservative nature here, because obviously we want the numbers to come in better than we're projecting,
Mhm.
rather than worse,
Can-
right?
Yes.
I would say, though,
Switch it to
based on
30?
there being so much rental, I would imagine, the only way they make money is if it fills.
Because what'd you say you're at now, 20?
23 homes a year.
I'd say 30 right now for the next 3 years, just see what it, and that's figuring conservative with what we got
If
coming.
interest rates come down, I mean, you could see.
Just between those 3 projects, so.
Yeah, and, you know, Oscar Meadows, I got the second phase already, they don't even curb down yet. They're-
That's what I said, I mean, that's 80 lots, so yeah, so.
I know.
I mean, the rentals will probably use less water too, but, so being conservative is
Not
probably a good
always.
idea. Not always,
Well,
but they
who
might.
knows? Yeah, I mean.
For smaller
I
families,
imagine they would
probably.
use less because they'll be smaller, generally
Not watering
speaking,
their yards.
households, probably,
But
but.
irrigate out of that pond at our rain addition.
It's a huge pond.
Yeah, they're.
Against your will again, huh?
We're only bumping you to 30, Mike.
I just like to see that water fund hit levels. What does it take to get that water fund to be level, you know?
Second meeting in a row against his will.
Mike's used to us.
Yeah.
First of all, let me highlight these, so I know I did something weird. Ooh, might be J7.
January 7th?
Ooh, that wasn't it.
No, that's not J7.
Every time he types, the screen bounces up and down.
So that's AQ13. I just add 30 instead of...
That'd be nice.
Oops.
I'll take that. That'll make the storm rate look real good.
Whoa, that's a big jump there.
Yeah.
Wrong button.
That's all right.
Fast riders try to do things quickly and then end up going slower because they rush.
I never type worse than when people are watching me.
Okay, Okay, I mean, it really,
Incremental effect.
yeah. But if there's significant growth and it continued, my only point was, instead of seeing this bleeding, it might not actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point I'm making, so.
Did the storm, that one drop, yeah.
Storm's still fine. Debt per capita's not crazy. See, it's a little bit, it's starting to be a little more curvy here instead of straight line, but
But still between 3 and 4.
yep.
Yeah, it's about 3.7.
Yep.
What did that change to our tax rate increase? It was at 9.9 and then 7.2 showed us. Now where is that at?
Oh, well, that hasn't changed.
Okay, that is not.
I've got your prelim, but going forward, here's your 9.9. So I just highlight all these. The average is 5% a year. Some years it'll be low like that, but don't take that into account, because what it's doing is it's calculating your debt levy first, and then everything else comes off of that, and then depending on how you actually budget, that could have an impact, but it's better to take a number of years and average it out.
What did the increase was?
6.
6 was the number.
6.
Yeah, the other thing is if I go to your tax base growth, right here. So you've had, what is going on? All right, something's going on. I think your tax base has been growing slightly higher on average.
I'd expect 5 to 7% this year, based on what we've got from the state.
Say it again, Tim, sorry, I zoned out.
I'm expecting about between 5 and 7% this year, just based on what we've got from the state in terms of their projected value increases they're looking at for the natural tax base increase.
Yeah, the average has been closer to 9%.
Do we get into trouble if our tax base growth goes to 0?
No, it's that your tax rate will go high, but the people's, let's say where your tax base growth is 0 due to lack of development, that's a problem. But if your tax base growth was just simply, you've no new growth, it's just your existing homes, and there was 0% increase in their values, yeah, the tax rate's way higher, but each household's share of the taxes to be paid would still be the same. Their value as a percentage of the overall value would stay the same.
I just want to make sure we're planning for stuff and we're not relying on growth.
That's why.
To keep
with
rates
the
down.
23 homes and stuff, that's why I'm kinda like always trying to.
Yeah.
And so I'm using, tax base growth of 6%.
Well, then you're stopping projects too, you don't do the $6 million reconstruct, you get a big recession.
Right.
Right, and that's a good point. I mean, you
Well,
can pull that out.
some things are going to wear out, and we're going to be forced to replace them, right? Like, the sewer plant eventually needs to get redone, whether or not we outgrow it or not, right?
Something, well, I don't know if that particular project, but
Yeah, that's gonna get rid of more of my growth in the sewer plant.
I hope so. I hope so.
What's that?
Said I hope so.
That's why we haven't added on to it now, is because we fixed the I&I and our growth is working, but the I&I is reduced, so we can keep putting it off.
Was there a major project 9 years ago now?
And that was actually supposed to be done in there. We changed gears and pushed that off, and then we've just been pushing off, but
Yeah.
it's more not necessarily the I&I, it's more the loading.
Loading,
So
okay.
as we get more users, that's what's gonna start
Okay.
really driving it. The I&I wasn't important, but separate issues like that.
So anything we put in here, by the way, is not committal, So, before you pull the trigger, like, before you pull the trigger on that $6 million, we see where we're at compared to where we thought we'd be.
If there's something wrong, then we go back and say, maybe we just do something smaller, short-term, if needed.
And Mike always likes to stay low on his growth for homes, which is good.
Well, are we okay with 20 years on, I went 20 years on that 6 million, just because.
Someone asked for 30, I thought I heard someone ask that.
I was gonna shorten it.
Well, what's the best interest rate, between 15 and 20, probably?
The yield curve is steepening right now, and so your better rate's actually at the lower end. So, the difference might be a quarter point right now. But I was just thinking, if there's a lot of road work here, you want to be financing that for 20 years. But you see the payment went from 500 to 600. So,
Typically, I think we've done 15-year ones in the past.
Mm-hmm.
that smells right to me, because, if you figure the blacktop stuff is like a 10-year asset and the utility stuff is 20-plus years, and just meet in the middle of 15, that makes sense.
Now, those water rates that he's showing there is, we had a discussion when we were approving the water tower. Are those the same rates from our last discussion?
I think those are what we're projecting for next year's increase would be 1.5, yep.
You did a larger increase coming into this year.
Right. Our
Okay.
pricing for that water tower project.
That's what I must be remembering then.
Yeah, we did a larger increase last fall for this year's
You
water.
see this bump here, right here?
Okay.
And when I say a 1.5% increase, I'm looking for a 1.5% increase in your revenue, so that means you don't just hit your monthly base rate, you also hit the volume rate.
And there's growth figured in too, so part of that is, if we really do have the growth that we're anticipating, we have a 40-unit apartment complex coming on, plus all those rental units,
Yeah.
those individual usages
There's
will increase.
There's a good chance the revenues will be more than 1.5%.
It's possible.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Any other questions or thoughts on this? Because usually what I do is I PDF all this up and send it to staff and do a little email with some basic points. I want to make sure everybody's satisfied. Okay.
Do you wanna leave the 6 million one in there for now?
I think you should.
Yeah, I think
It didn't seem to hurt much.
realistically, we know that is a project
Yep.
that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And, when I started, we had certain projects we had laid out, kind of in the 5-year plan, was a lot of the water projects we've looked at. Some of these have popped up, like the water tower, the south one was not on my radar, was not on your guys'
Right.
radar. It's due to circumstances. It'll be an improvement, but it has cost. But I think that is our next big street project that we'll be doing, so I think it's good to leave it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, even at that time, when I started talking about state aid funds too, looking for next state aid project, 16th Street's gonna be complete.
Mhm.
What other fundings, and then extending potentially, if, Tony, and west of the dump road extends to 16th Street, do we get over to the gun club road and do that gravel road? It's gonna be.
Which is not gonna be something we're able to finance otherwise, so it definitely was something we'd have to look at for
Yeah, so
MSA
that might
dollars.
be some outline, if we go for a really big bite there with a really large street project, but then we'd be looking at other funding, so.
Right. Right. To Ryan's earlier point about accessing down to 14 in a spot, that would be a part of that for a long-term growth strategy.
State aid was made for the money for
I see they were cutting in, access to the county's property off of 57 today.
Okay.
So they must have got permission from MinDOT to put a entrance.
Any other things for Mike on this presentation? Otherwise, thanks for that, and if you're willing to send that out, we really appreciate it. Obviously, it's a good update. Brian, did you have anything else? I know it's your first time kind of looking at it.
Not right now, I don't.
Okay.
Can we just segue into the financing then?
That sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I've just kicked that dead horse a bunch of times saying that I think we should isolate it to the water tower. The authority for water utility borrowings is in chapter 444. No public hearings required, no, it doesn't apply against any net debt limits, no protest petitions are allowed. It's about the easiest thing you can borrow money for is water. The caveat is that you're gonna pledge that the water fund is gonna pay this, right? So how big is the borrowing? Well, we already talked about 3-point-something million. So here's our construction cost, $250,000 in engineering. These numbers down here are the issuance costs related to selling bonds, and this is gonna be a public rated sale, which is the most expensive way to issue bonds, but it's gonna give you your lowest rate. And when we're talking about $3-point-something million over a 20-year period, this becomes almost inconsequential, right? It's the rate that's so important. Recommending that when you go out to market, that we offer up to 1.25% discount allowance. By rule, you can go up to 2%. And what that means is, when we go out for bids, you're gonna get bids from underwriters and investment banks who will buy the bond, but they don't intend to hold it. They intend to piece it up and sell it to their customers for a profit. And so the example I always give is, let's say you're doing $100,000, they would pay you $98,000 for the bond. Then they piece it up and resell it for the full $100,000. So you owe $100,000, but you only got $98,000. It was discounted. There's other ways for underwriters to make money through premium sales and stuff on the back end. There's really no way to control that other than a competitive sale, which I'm suggesting here. We're going to bid this thing out just like a road project. So you would bid out things based on quantities, like so much blacktop, so many linear feet. We bid things based on principles. So down below, we put together this principal structure, and you see all these interest rates. The reason they change over time is that some people will buy these initial principal payments, some people will buy these and so forth. And so the people that have to wait longer for their money are going to want a higher interest rate. And so these interest rates all get bid. So instead of bidding quantities, we bid principal. And then we do a calculation, and we mash all that up together, and we come up with the net effective rate. So the net effective rate takes into account the underwriter's discount allowance and the interest you pay based on all those rates that have yet to be determined through the bidding process. And so if somebody asks you, well, what's the interest rate on the bonds, and they see that convoluted list of rates, you just ignore those. You would say our bonds were sold at 4.27%. Now, I think this is high right now compared to what we've been seeing. And then come what might happen in September, Fed, they're hinting at a rate reduction. Some people argue that those proposed rate reductions are already kind of getting built into the market today. I don't know. I never believe it when I hear that. Maybe a little bit, it has been. Anyways, I feel like I want to show you a rate that's probably going to be pretty safe. I'd rather have bids come in and be too high and be embarrassed versus the other way around, but it's still possible. So, for instance, everyone, the majority of people think there's going to be a quarter-point rate reduction in September. But, last week, the inflation report came out, and it was a good report. And so everybody said, okay, so they're not going to sit on the laurels, they're going to reduce rates. That was a consumer price index. And late, something called producer price index inflation report comes out, and that's the prices that businesses pay for goods and services. That was elevated. So everybody got joyous after the first report. A little bit sketchy on the second report, because the thinking is those increased prices that those businesses pay has yet to fluctuate over to the consumer, right? So that and bond rates are an indication of what people expect are going to happen in the future. So in the next month, your guess is as good as mine what's going to happen. But I think right now, 4.27%, I think that's a safe number. Anyway, so if we take those sources and uses, I get that $3.18 million. And right here, there's $10,000 in construction fund earnings. So idea is you're gonna get this $3 million, you're gonna put it in an interest-bearing account that you're paying for the project, it's gonna earn interest. And, you know, that's holding that down. It's more of a rounding number than anything else, but you will earn interest on those funds. So, in terms of length, 20-year financing, that's consistent with our prior planning. And so there you see the $250,000 a year coming out of the water fund. Now, that's a little bit overstated in that the rules require us to have our revenues on paper show that not only can we cover the annual payment, but an additional hypothetical 5% that you don't actually spend. So actually, these are the payments. It's more like $240,000, not $250,000. I mentioned rating. So what will happen is we will put together the official statement, which is the official disclosure document. I think you guys have already returned the city certificate. My wife said you're the new favorite because that got turned around.
Oh, Sarah.
So thank you for that.
I took a lot of credit for it, too.
You always do.
That's your title.
So
I get the blame, too, Sarah. So.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So once that's completed, then we will hire Standard & Poor's to come in and do a credit rating for us. There'll be a management call, so hopefully you two can sit in on that call. I will be there, of course. And they'll provide that rating just a few days prior to the bids. And the underwriters are used to that. They're not they don't get it weeks in advance. They're used to having it a couple days in advance. It's fine. Now, right here, call option. We can set this wherever you want. I'm seeing a lot of sales right now at February 1st of 35. I've also previously seen February of 33. What this is your promise not to prepay the bonds until that date. So even if you came into a ton of cash all of a sudden and you wanted to pay off the bonds, you wouldn't be able to pay them off until that date. And the reason you offer that is so these investors, they want to make sure their investment is good for a period of time. And if you make that too short, they'll pay you on the rate. I think 2035 is too far out, but 33 smells more correct. And then I, of course, mentioned the state of Minnesota. You see that up here, credit enhanced. And that's that extra $500 that's built into those fees. I think that's all I really need to state on that. Any questions? Oh, Tim mentioned the resolution, and he talked about the negotiated competitive sale. And you say negotiated competitive sale. What's a negotiated competitive sale? Well, it's a competitive sale, and then we put out a notice for sale. We show the principal and the official statement, and people bid on it. But that negotiated bid allows us to deal with the low bidder in case things come up. What if they do what we call premium sales, where they turn around, instead of selling all these principal payments for par, they sell them for a lot more, for premium. We'll pay a higher interest rate, but then they give us a ton of cash. It could be $100,000, $200,000 in cash that comes back to us in premium. So we pay a higher interest rate, but then we can take that $200,000 and buy it on the bond. So at the end of the day, you still have the same payments. It's just you're borrowing less at a higher rate. But by having that negotiated bit in there, I can go back to the buyer and say, hey, we're going to shift principal around, we're going to change things. So, you know what I mean? So that's why it's a negotiated competitive sale. And if that happens, if we see any of that, the problem is I can't project it, right? So basically I always show these things as par sales, so you see your coupon and the yield being the same. But it could be that we see the coupons all come in at 4%, in which case the underlying yields will still be low like this, but what that means is there's premium sales. And then I track all that, and then we look at how much cash is being generated by that, and we ask for all that. But as much of it as possible, at least to buy these bonds down. So instead of $3.18 million, it could be $3 million, who knows? Sometimes it generates a pit, it's like 20, 30 grand, in which case we just take it and put it in debt service fund.
I see the contingency is 0. Is that, I assume, is this water tower, we're not expecting any issues, so we don't have any contingency accounted for?
Yeah, that might be more on me than Brendan, because water towers don't tend to have a lot of unknowns. I mean, it's not like you're digging into a street with rock and so forth.
Okay.
I wouldn't expect to have a lot of change orders from our side of it. I know that they may be looking at an extension for the project, so it might actually be beneficial for us if we end up giving them extension. But yeah, I mean, typically you wouldn't see the change orders. I mean, we're not gonna ask them to change anything that we, realistic. So I think, yeah, that's probably why it wouldn't require a big contingency in this case.
Okay.
So if you want to move forward, you would adopt that resolution, and I would be back on October 8th. That morning, we would do the bids, probably at 11 a.m., and then probably by early afternoon, I can inform staff of the results. We'll present them to council that night, and then if you adopt the award of the sale that night, then we close for the end of October.
I think you could approve that one first. Dan's just asking about that credit enhancement agreement. So I think we would do that first, and then we'd approve the resolution.
If you adopt the resolution, I think that automatically authorizes you to sign.
Okay.
Because there's language in that resolution about the credit enhancement.
Oh, I just saw it before in here, so I wanted to make sure.
Sure.
And I was also threatened under pain of death that hopefully tomorrow we can get those pages signed and scanned back.
I'm gonna see if the mayor can sign it tonight,
Okay.
so that'd be good.
And then scan it tomorrow and.
Yeah. Scan it tonight.
You're gonna make happy wife, happy life.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, it is in there, okay. I do see it in there. I just wanted to make sure that it is bulletin 3, the Public Facilities Credit Enhancement Program, so. All right. We have any more for Mike, or? No? Okay. With that, then, I guess I would take a motion to approve the resolution to go out for bids for that 3.18 million and change for the, what do you want to call it,
Of a general obligation water revenue bond.
Yes, there you go.
2025 alpha.
Thank you.
Make the motion.
We have a motion from Ryan,
I'll second.
second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you. And then that is everything for Mike?
Is there anything else for me? That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike,
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, the next on our agenda is 16th Street Northwest, the RIP agreement. Brendan.
Well, it is not the RIP agreement. The agreement is still alive. It actually should be LRIP agreement.
Oh, well,
And it should look familiar to some council members. This is the same program that we got funded from DOT for our 16th Street East, going over to Dodge County when we paved that Old Township Road. Essentially, this is, baked into what Mike just presented you guys for funding opportunities. So this ultimately is we actually got awarded 1.5 bids, are so nice, we're only gonna be able to probably cover 1.4 of all eligible costs. So that's what the agreement's for, is the 1.4 and some change. There is some required matching funds, but that is state aid routes, we're gonna use their state aid funds to cover those, and we have that all lined up. So this essentially is an agreement just to move forward with the state that has certain terms associated with money that they give us. So it's going to be an agreement. Again, it's the same agreement that you previously approved with the last 16th Street project. I will just note a couple things in there, specifically number 8, that is saying that this is bond finance property. When they give you state money, they don't want you to turn around and sell it. So that is essentially restricting our public right-of-way for 37 and a half years, knowing that the road's going to last that long. It's an important road. We're interested in restricting it. So that is noted on page 8 and 9 there. And then there is a resolution, you see the application packet in there. And there's a resolution, that's a separate document there that is essentially authorizing the mayor and the administrator permission to sign the agreement. So I'll pause there and see if you have any questions, but...
Thanks, Mike.
Mike. 16th Street, and we've had the pre-construction start here after Labor Day, so...
Any questions for Brandon? Otherwise, yeah, we're excited to get that one done. I think they're hoping to be done by the 15th, was it the 15th of November?
This construction season, we'll see how it goes.
That's true.
I'm not making too much hay out there currently, so...
It's my wife's birthday, what a good present.
So do we need to approve each of them individually here?
No, I just say one resolution.
Resolution.
To award the agreement that's attached, so.
Okay.
And that resolution is actually a document within the.
Okay.
the agreement, so.
All right. If there's no questions for Brendan, I would take a motion to approve the resolution for the local road improvement program grant agreement for 16th Street Northwest.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ryan.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that looks like it's the end of our meeting, so motion to adjourn.
Take the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brandon.